Hola a todos. Hoy vamos a echar un vistazo a la palabra cuyo en español. Today we are going to take a look at the word cuyo in Spanish. Now, this word functions as a relative adjective, right? And it translates as whose. Now you may be wondering, what is a relative adjective? No se preocupen, vamos a ver. So cuyo is used to indicate possession, right? We know that we can use whose as a question word, but this is not the function that we are talking about. It is used to indicate possession. And if it's an adjective, that means that it modifies nouns, right? So as I have here, it must agree with the noun. And in terms of, when we're talking about the noun, we're referring to the possession. In terms of gender and number, possession. So with anything as relative, let's talk about relative clauses. We use a relative clause to introduce additional information about something or someone that was mentioned previously. We have relative pronouns like that, which, who, and those are used to introduce relative clauses, right? Cuyo is used similarly because it introduces additional information, but this information relates to possession, right? So this is used directly before the entity that is being owned, right? So it has variants. Cuyo, which is the singular masculine, cuya, the feminine singular, cuyas, the plural feminine, and cuyos, the masculine plural. It has to agree with the noun, right? Cuyo must agree with whatever follows it. In other words, the possession. We are saying that a particular subject, in this case, owns something or someone. And that entire clause that starts with whose will provide additional information about what we were talking about earlier, right? So let's look at some examples. 1. Ana, cuyo padre sabe español, quiere viajar a Madrid. Ana, whose father knows Spanish, wants to travel to Madrid. So we see Ana is our subject, right? Which is singular and feminine. Cuyo padre, whose father? So the father belongs to Ana. So we're talking about Anna's father now. And we're using that as additional information. Cuyo padre, whose father? Right? Because padre is masculine and singular, we use cuyo. Right? Given that it is masculine and singular, we use cuyo. Cuyo has nothing to do with what was mentioned previously. Always remember that. Cuyo agrees with the possession, not the possessor. So whatever comes before has nothing to do with cuyo. It agrees with whatever follows it, right? Ana, cuyo padre sabe español, quiere viajar a Madrid. Muy bien. 2. Marcos, cuyos amigos ya se han jubilado, quiere jubilarse pronto. Marcos, whose friends have already retired, wants to retire soon. So we have the masculine plural in amigos, okay? Cuyos amigos. Amigos belongs to Marcos, and because this is a entity that is masculine and plural, we use cuyos, right? But pay attention here. you will notice that the verb here is singular. Why is that? Because we're talking about Marcos. Remember that this is just additional information, right? We're talking about Marcos. So always remember that the verb will agree with the subject. And because we're talking about Marcos, we have quiere. We will not say quieren because this does not agree with amigos. Amigos is just information by the way, right? Extra information. Okay? So quiere has to agree with Marcos. Muy bien. Number 3. La mujer cuya hermana no cree en Dios va a la iglesia cada domingo. So the woman whose sister does not believe in God goes to church every Sunday. Interesting. Right. We use cuya in this instance because hermana is feminine and singular. So the woman whose sister does not believe in God goes to church every Sunday. Yep. And once again, additional information. Because technically we can remove the sentences or the parts that contain cuyo, yeah. And 4, el alumno cuyas notas fueron excelentes acaba de graduarse. The student whose grades were excellent has just graduated. Notas, plural and feminine, therefore cuyas. So you see we have examples of all the variants. So I hope that you have observed the pattern. We have a subject, then we introduce a relative clause we introduce a relative clause with the use of cuyo, whose, right? And that whose, or the form of whose, which should be cuyo, must agree with the possession or the noun that follows, right? And then of course you continue the sentence. And remember the verb at the end, if you use a verb at the end, it must agree with the subject, right? Like number 2. I said earlier that this can be used with persons or things. So I did not give you an example with a thing. So here we go. El coche cuyo color es bonito está en el aparcamiento. The car whose color is beautiful is in the parking lot. So we have the subject, el coche, we have cuyo, because color is masculine and singular, and then we have the rest of the sentence. So, el coche cuyo color es bonito está en el aparcamiento. Muy bien. Now let's look at whose as an interrogative adjective, because I told you earlier that whose can be used to ask questions, right? In that case, the expression is going to be de quién, like of whom, de quién, right? So as an interrogative adjective, you know whose will precede a noun. But in Spanish, it doesn't work like that, right? The English translation means that whose has to precede the noun, right? But let's see what I'm referring to. ¿De quién es este lápiz? whose pencil is this? Right? So whose pencil, whose appears before pencil, therefore it is an interrogative adjective. Right? So that's how you would form that question in Spanish. ¿De quién es este lápiz? Whose pencil is this? ¿De quién son estas gafas? Whose glasses are these? Or shades, depending on the context. Whose glasses are these? ¿De quién son estas gafas? That's right. Now, let us look at whose as an interrogative pronoun. So this is where it is not, it isn't used before any noun. We can ask, ¿de quién? ¿De quién son estos? ¿De quién son estos? Whose are these? ¿De quién son estos? Whose are these? So that is whose as an interrogative pronoun. And the examples earlier with gafas and was it lápiz? Right, with gafas and lápiz, those were examples of whose as an interrogative adjective, okay? Bueno, eso es todo por hoy. Muchas gracias por ver mis videos como siempre. Hasta la vista.